Hey class, Dr. Stevens here. Just want to give you a quick follow-up on the first assignment that you submitted, the first article that you reviewed. I got those graded finally. I think there might be one or two yet that I have to do, but I wanted to give you some feedback on those, and hopefully it will help you to do a little bit better going forward. First of all, I just want you to know that it's not my goal in life to beat you up and make you feel terrible. I realize that many of my comments can come across as negative, and I don't mean them that way. I just mean for them to be helpful. I'm pointing out the mistakes that you need to correct. But please don't take it personally. I just want that to be something that you fix in the future and don't make the same mistakes over and over again. So I apologize in advance if it seems like I'm coming across as an ogre and my only goal in life is to make you feel bad, because that is not true. So I have a few notes that I've made to cover in this quick video. First of all, it's obvious that some of you have not been taking a look at the APA template. That document is available in the first module, or in modules. I don't know if it's in the first module, but there's an APA template in there. I showed that to you in a previous video, and the template is just an example. And so it gives you an example of how to do the title page, how to format your headings, how to format block quotes and your references and so on. I really need you to be paying attention to that. The paper that you submit should look like that template. If it doesn't look like that, you need to make the adjustments to make it conform to that template. And I realize that many of you probably have not had much experience with APA, maybe no experience with APA in the past. However, I would imagine that in your college career, you've probably been expected to submit papers that conform to some kind of a format. And so this shouldn't be that new to you. Maybe APA is a little bit different from what you're accustomed to, but the idea of fitting in a format shouldn't be new to you. So please pay attention to that. The reason that I put so much emphasis on that is because if you get involved with any sort of scholarly research, professional research, or that sort of thing, you're going to be expected to conform to either that format or some other similar format. APA is very common, and that's one that I'm familiar with, and so it's one that I'm using here. But if you go on to graduate school and you make mistakes in a scholarly paper, you're going to get hit pretty hard for that. And if it's meant for publication, it'll just simply be rejected. You'll have to do it correctly. So scholarly writing is meant to be error-free. It's meant to be accurate, and so that's why I hit that so hard. So I hope that you'll pay attention to that and do your best to make your work match up with that template. And then, of course, you can go to the APA website. It has resources there, and if you actually have the manual in your possession, then you should be in good shape there. For your weekly assignments, I do want to see a title page, and I want it to conform to that template style. So make sure that you're doing that. Use APA format throughout. That means correct margins, correct spacing. I expect to see Times New Roman font size 12. That's the only font size and type that I want to see there. I know that sometimes that's not the default for whatever program you're using, but you'll need to make those adjustments. I do not need to see a running head. Now, I've made a comment on some of your papers that that's not necessary. I kind of got to the point where I just quit caring. So, if you include a running head, I guess I'm not going to say anything about it, but I really don't need to see that. If you are submitting an official document for publication or for a master's thesis or something like that, then yes, you would be expected to have a running head in there. I don't necessarily need to see it, and I certainly don't want to see an abstract. So those are two things that you can omit. If you do include a running head, I'm not going to say anything about it. However, it's evident that some of you are using some sort of a template that you got somewhere that has a running head in the template, but then you're just leaving it as it's listed there with no actual useful information. That's obviously an oversight on your part. If you're going to have a running head, at least have it be descriptive of what it is you're writing about for that particular paper. With the quote, whenever you're citing a quote in your paper, make sure you are familiar with how that is to correctly be cited. You always must have a page number when you're citing a quote. If you're not citing a quote, then don't have a page number in there. That rule is pretty simple. However, there are two different rules for citing in-text quotes and block quotes, and you need to be familiar with those two different rules. They are formatted differently, and so you need to be familiar with both of those. And those are identified in the template that I have in the modules. I expect you to have at least one correct citation in your article review, in text citation. I expect you to have at least one, and that would most likely come in your first paragraph, because that's where you are reporting to me what the article is about and why, how you're analyzing it and so on. So I would expect to see at least one citation in that first paragraph, and then maybe more beyond that. And then also your in-text citation must match the reference. If you've got one reference, then you should only have a citation in the text referring to that one reference. So they need to match up. Make sure you're familiar with how references are to be formatted. You were all over the place on those. In most cases, I just simply put a comment saying, see the APA format. I'm not going to spend the time to tell you what you did wrong. You need to find that out on your own. So look at the template and make sure that you're in compliance with that. I'm seeing a lot of cliches or slang terms. Pros and cons is a real common one. Pros and cons is not really a scholarly term. That's slang. There's a better way to refer to the benefits or the disadvantages of whatever it is you're describing. So avoid using pros and cons. And then in some cases, some of you will see that you got no score on your submission. That was because you had a problem big enough that I couldn't actually give you a score. Either you didn't have any references, or you didn't have any citations, or both. If that's the case, I sent you a note saying fix this and resubmit it for a score. So that no score that you received isn't permanent. You're welcome to resubmit if that was the case for you, and I will give you consideration going forward. But I didn't feel like I could give you a fair score if you didn't do the work. If there was something so seriously wrong, I didn't feel like I could give you a score. So, and I didn't want to give you a low score that you felt that you might feel is inappropriate. So my choice there was give you another chance, resubmit it. We'll go from there. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. This is a learning process, and I realize your first week you're not going to be perfect. And I was pretty generous. If you only had one minor mistake, I don't think I dinged you any points. If you had more than one minor mistake, or it wasn't a minor mistake, then I might have dinged you 2 or 3 points. I was pretty kind, I think, for this first week. As we move forward and my expectations increase, and if I see that you make the same mistakes over and over again, then I'll start being a little more critical about that. So just another point, I think I posted a comment regarding Turnitin. It's causing all kinds of problems, so I have disabled it, but I'm still going to be paying attention to your writing. And if I have a notion that I think maybe there was a bit too much copying, pasting going on, I'm going to check into that. So make sure that your work is your own, that it's original, that it's not from some previous course. I think I've mentioned that before. That's actually in violation of university policy to reuse work from a previous another course for a second course. So that's not to say that you can't use the same ideas and resources and so on, but your work does need to be original. So copying and pasting from some other assignment isn't allowed. I think that's about it. I'll cut this off at this point, but be sure to let me know if you have any questions. I'm always glad to help. I just wanted to give you some quick feedback on this particular first assignment. So I think we're off to a good start, though. So keep it up and keep going.